do believe we are all set to go here. So, welcome to tonight's Final Fantasy XIV stream, but before we get into the stream itself, I really feel like I need to get some stuff off of my chest because I feel like something needs to be said, and I just want to point out before I get talking that this is about the WoW Exodus. And I just want to say right out of the gates that this is nothing against the people who have come here to our game from WoW. I'm grateful to everyone, especially in RFC, who has come over from WoW, who have come here to see what we're all about and really enjoy the game. But I feel like the WoW Exodus has hurt us as a community in a way that I don't think people really realize. And the reason I say that is because over the course of the last month, I've been getting comments from people asking me why I'm not streaming anymore. And this even happened last week at the Final Fantasy XIV fan club event that I was at in Toronto, and then someone asked me this earlier today, and all I could think to myself was, how can you people think that I'm no longer streaming, much less no longer streaming Final Fantasy XIV? This really bothers me because the fact that someone like myself, who has been playing this game on YouTube and Twitch now for 7 years, who has been someone who has been loyal to this game, the overwhelming majority of my content is dedicated to this game. I've been streaming on a regular basis. I have gone and represented our game for Games Done Quick not once but twice, as well as at a variety of other events in and around my community. And to have people think that I no longer stream anymore really bothers me. And I think I've come to the realization as to why people think this. Since the WoW Exodus has come around, many of their big Twitch streamers now play this game. Of course, this includes the big three, the trinity, if you will, of Rich Campbell, Asmongold, and Zephyla. And I'm just really... It would have been good to know that we've been able to welcome these guys into our community, and we're very grateful to have them. But I feel like by them streaming us, by them streaming our game now, I feel like we have lost our audience. Many of the people who I know who stream Final Fantasy XIV and have done so for a long time used to have audiences that were very good for the amount of followers that they had. And now these days they have very, very few. I know someone who's been around since 2.0 who used to have hundreds of viewers watching his streams, and now he's lucky if he can even get 10. And as for me, I'm lucky if I can get 3 people watching me at a time, when my high mark was about 30 to 35, which for someone with a follow count as much as I have, having 30 to 35 is a big deal. That's a very big deal to have an audience like that when I was at my peak. And now to know that I'm a lot worse off now than I once was really bothers me. And there's no way that this could have happened if not for people wanting to see what the WoW people are doing in this game. I really fear that those of us who have been loyal to this game for all these years are now being forced to take a back seat to a bunch of people who, quite frankly, even 6 months ago, couldn't have given a damn about this game. They still dumped on us, they still hated us, they still thought we were beneath them. And now the only reason that they actually give a damn about this game is because the people who created World of Warcraft, Blizzard, are pretty much taking the dump on them. So they thought we were trash, and now the only reason they like us is because they now think Blizzard and World of Warcraft are trash. So they're getting all the love, they're getting all the support, And it really has taken away from people like myself who will continue to stream and show our support for this game, but to know that we have lost our support, that we've lost our audience to people who are only here because they basically got screwed for one reason or another by World of Warcraft. Like, there are so many things that I want to say and that I want to say unfiltered, and I just can't do it. It just really frustrates me to know that I want to really get it out of my system how we who have been loyal, we loyalists who have ensured that there has been a Realm Reborn, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, and now Endwalker in 2 weeks' time, that it feels like all the work and dedication that we put into this game, showing it off, streaming it for our audiences, basically now these days amounts to nothing. It hurts so much when you have people who used to watch you on a regular basis think that you don't even stream anymore. You really don't know how much that hurts. You really don't know how much that hurts. And what I think is really, there are two factors that are really exacerbating this. When these people from WoW started coming over, I started to notice on YouTube that there were a bunch of Final Fantasy XIV Twitch highlight channels that were springing up out of nowhere that primarily featured people who used to play WoW. And I was thinking to myself, well, if they have this much love for the people for WoW, maybe they'll show us loyalists some love. We're lucky if we can get any recognition for anything that we do. All the times that I've issued clips to all of these various Final Fantasy XIV highlight channels on YouTube, I've only gotten 2 clips total shown on any of their channels. That's it. Just 2. And I've had people tell me, oh, you should do more clickbait content. That'll get you the support that I need. And I think to myself, oh, really? You don't think that I don't do enough clickbait content? Let me give you an idea of the various number of clips that I have tried to get onto these Final Fantasy XIV highlight channels, just so you can get an idea of what exactly I have been trying to do. I'm going to go in order based on the one that I put on most recently, and I will give you guys the opportunity to be the judge on whether or not you think that stuff that I'm making is clickbait. So, yeah, scroll down here. So yeah, here is what I have done for clickbait to this point. Starting with the most recent and going to the earliest. Last night, when I had the battle in Alamigo, I used my jump, and I jumped unknowingly into a bunch of AoE that all conveniently showed up at the same time, but was blocked by the massive mob of enemies, and then I ended up dying. That would have been a great blooper death to get onto one of these Twitch highlight channels. Nope. Nothing doing. Here's what else I've done. Come on there, Twitch, please give me a hand. I have shown off myself singing 3 different songs from Final Fantasy XIV, including Dragon's Song from Heavensward and the 2 anthems from Stormblood. I've showed off a Fate that had a really weird ending where you try and save the pixie in El Meg, and then it's discovered that the monsters that were attacking the pixie were actually its friends. And that was really random. I thought, oh, that'll be a great content. But nope, that didn't work either. Then, on top of that, I have a situation where I had a person who was dancing as a Lalafell, and they were showing off the Hildebrand dance, and they were doing that. And then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they do a quick change to a Namazu head, and then they show themselves in the Play Dead emotes. And I thought that was a really weird thing that looked really cool. That should give me some love. Nope. Let me keep going down the list here. Then there was a moment when I was AFK and a woman and a female character came to sit down at a stool, and she was wearing a dress, but the way that she sat down resulted in the camera picking up an upskirt shot. And I thought to myself, that should get me some love. Nope. Then I went to a dance club where I had the opportunity to come across this Lalafell who was dancing, and they had set up a macro where their outfit changed color literally every single second. And it was just this really cool, amazing array of colors that this person had set up with this macro, and I thought, that is really cool. It's so creative, it's so clever, I should definitely show this off to these highlight people. They didn't think anything of that either. And then not long after that, in the same club where I was dancing, someone had shown off a glamour that looked like one of the guards from Squid Game. And so I gave my opinion on Squid Game and how I thought it was ironic that in an era where we have the COVID-19 pandemic, where people are dying en masse because of it, that the most interesting form of entertainment that has taken the world by storm is a show where people die in mass numbers. That didn't get me any love either. I also have given people my own take on the Star Wars Empire Strikes Back moment where Darth Vader reveals that he's Luke Skywalker's father. Because we just happened to be fighting in Eureka, an enemy known as Luke, spelt L-E-U-K-E. I thought, that should give me some love for doing my impression of that scene from The Empire Strikes Back. Nope. Then I had the opportunity to show off Rika in a Final Fantasy XIV All Saints Wake Halloween glamour. I had given her a combination of both the vampire vest and the 2015 witch's outfit and made up a little ditty about her dressed up as a sexy vampire, and I thought, that should give me some love, but it didn't. Then I tried to follow and do what other people were doing by throwing themselves off the top of Kugane Tower and trying to land on that one spot that you can only land on if you jump off from the top of it in order to get this thing added to the sightseeing log. And I got it, with Corinne, with Rika, and with Mathia. And that was something that was getting a lot of love and a lot of attention on these streams, highlights channels, but not from me. Yeah, can you see where I'm going with this? Like, seriously, can you see where I am going with this? And then you might remember there was the time when Mathia and Luna had their anniversary to their eternal bond. And we invited all of our FC members. They had a great time. And then when the ceremony was over, everyone was showing off a bunch of awesome things that they were doing. And our friend Tharia, who's been around with us for a while, actually showed off her Blue Mage move where she picked up an ability that made her do a Chun-Li impression from Street Fighter. I'd never seen that before. I thought that looked really cool. I was like, that should get us some love. But that didn't do it either. Then I showed off a couple of highlights from me reacting to the letter from the producer where Yoshi P announced that he was delaying Endwalker for 2 weeks. And someone had mentioned his translator, his female translator, had suggested that Alice is considered a waifu by a number of Final Fantasy XIV players. And I laughed hysterically at the absurdity of an evil twin being some sort of waifu. And like, not on your life. But apparently these highlights only wanted to show off the raw footage of the stream. They didn't want to show off anyone's reactions to the streams. I really don't understand why they would snub people who were trying to give their own reactions to these various weird moments in the letter from the producer, but they seem to have no interest in it whatsoever. And then, perhaps most notably, the one moment where I was in Eureka and I came across, and this should have been a slam dunk for getting attention on one of these streamer highlight channels. Coming across in Eureka someone who seemed to clearly be from WoW having a name that they named themselves after Leroy Jenkins, the most notorious player in Final Fantasy XIV history, and I shouted him out 6 times, and it still wasn't enough to get any notice from any of these highlight channels. Like, if not even shouting out Leroy Jenkins the way that Leroy Jenkins would shout on himself, like, Leroy Jenkins! If that isn't even enough to get any attention from these Final Fantasy XIV streamers, like, what will it take? I've also shown off weird glitches. I've shown off places that have really amazing scenery that people do not really get an opportunity to go to. I've shown off Easter eggs. I've shown off some really amazing things that should have gotten me some sort of recognition from these channels. But like I said, I've only ever gotten 2 ever. One came as a result of a death in the Terror of Paradigm's Breach. The other came while I was doing the Breaking Brick Mountains promo, and where I suggested that the big guy who had the Puff Puff girls was wearing a GIMP mask. Those are the only 2 times ever that I've ever gotten any sort of recognition on one of these Final Fantasy XIV streamer highlight channels on YouTube. And there's no way that these channels would have existed had it not been for the exodus from WoW. And to no real surprise, guess who gets the lion's share of their time? Asmongold, Rich Campbell, Zephyla, and all of their friends from WoW, while those of us who've been loyal to this game, like Mr. Happy, like Ms. Tech, like all of us who have been loyal, who have, regardless of how many followers we have, whether it's less than a couple hundred like me, or thousands like they do, we are getting the short end of the stick from these channels, and it's just not right. And the fact that when a couple months ago, Yoshi P and his friend were doing interviews with members of the Twitch streaming audience, it was almost all people who came from WoW. That, like, I can't even remember if any one of the people that they did an interview with during that series of interviews was someone who had been playing Final Fantasy XIV for an extended period of time. Like, I really cannot think of anyone. And so for Yoshi P and the dev team to snub us like that, to basically turn their back on us loyalists who have been around for this game for as long as we have, is nothing short of abhorrent. And quite frankly, given everything that has happened over the course of this time, where we have had to take a backseat to all the people from WoW, quite frankly, we deserve better. Plain and simple. We deserve better. And I'm sick and tired of trying to get attention from people who are supposed to show us some semblance of appreciation for having been streaming for as long as we have. Like, there would be no Endwalker, or Shadowbringers, or Stormblood, or any of that if it wasn't for us. Where's the love? Where's the loyalty? Where is it? It's something that I really wish we had, and that people could still follow us, and still appreciate us, and still enjoy our content. And the fact that we have to scream ourselves hoarse just to even get a passing glance from people who have been around this game as long as we have, and who should give us at least some sort of recognition. I'm so frustrated. I am so frustrated. I just cannot understand why people cannot give us the time of day to recognize everything that we have done for this game, and that all of the love goes to people who 6 months ago could not have given a fuck about this game. And like I said, The only reason they give a fuck about this game now is because they got fucked over by the game they came from. So, I really needed to get this off my chest. I really needed to say this tonight, because I really fear that I've had some people say, oh, the audience will come back when you are playing Endwalker in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, with how things have been going for myself and all of the other loyalists who've been streaming for so many years, I'm not so sure we will get a fair shake. And so I do hope that I will have an audience for Final Fantasy XIV when Endwalker comes around, because if not, it's like all of our efforts, all of us who've been streaming on Twitch for all these years and standing up for our game, even when we were getting dumped on by Rich and Asmon and Zephyla and all of their friends. We took it, we turned the other cheek, we stood strong, we stood firm, we stayed loyal, we kept playing this game. It's that simple. We deserve to be treated with better respect and with better loyalty than what we're being treated with right now. And I really fear that if this keeps up, we will basically be, many of us will be completely lost. Like not Zephyla, but Mr. Happy and Ms. Tech and the people, they'll still be around, they'll still have an audience, but I really worry for them, I really worry for us, and I need to know that our community still thinks that we are worth their time. We need to know from the dev team that we are still worth their time. It's gotta happen, or else that is a significant swing in the history of our game, that the people who dumped on us for so many years are gonna get all the love from this day forward, and for the last 6 months and now to this point and going forward. That bothers me, and I really need to know that we have an audience who will actually give us some semblance of attention or respect or appreciation. It has to happen, or else this game could very well go in a way that I don't think anyone wants it to go. Alright, I've gotten it out of my system. Thanks for listening. I really needed to say that. I really had to get it out of my system. It hurts that it has to come to me saying something like this on behalf of the Final Fantasy XIV streamers on Twitch. But unless someone comes out and says it, nothing's gonna change. So I've spoken my piece. Hopefully I will have an audience again when Endwalker launches in 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens.